That's pretty good. It's gonna hook. Ooh, it's a Riley slap. Yeah, that's kind of disgusting. Obviously not stepping on the toes of the Ethos Solid whatsoever. The Brunswick Alert releases on October 23rd, so another quick turnaround and warning, ball reviewer hype incoming, but this is about as impressed as I've been with a release in a while, especially for what seems on paper like your average Scorpion low flare tour kind of solid, but there is a little bit of a catch here too, so let's unpack it. Test pattern is Kegel Chromium at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas, and I'm using the same layout as always. Again, on paper, it's kind of a Scorpion low flare, Web Tour, IQ Tour Venom Shock kind of ball, and if we're being honest, the core does look like the Gear core from the Shock with a little more character. Basically, 248 RG, 037 differential, so low RG and low-ish differential. Typically, tour balls are closer to 030. This is almost up to 040, which is Fireball or Turbo X kind of territory, so a little extra, but still not a ton. Cover is HK22 Savvy Hook Solid at 2000 out of the box, which is where I left it. Savvy Hook has been used quite a few times in different iterations. 4.0 is currently on the Ethos Solid, and Savvy Hook Solid itself was on the Melee Cross, but of course it's paired here with HK22, so that adds some bounce down lane. It actually took me a bit to catch up with how much this ball shapes down lane. It's not exactly sharp, but it's sharper than I was expecting, and as I continued to throw it and it gradually shined up, it got even sharper. It's still a very round-shaping, continuous ball that's ultimately medium response, and the best way I can describe it is baby stealth mode. And that's what surprises and impresses me, because I was already impressed with how punchy the mode is, and especially how well it handles angle for a symmetric ball, but the Alert has barely enough differential to get some separation on the flare rings. It does flare enough, but as you'll see, it does things this type of ball really shouldn't do. But that's why we test the balls out and play all over the lane instead of just reading spec sheets. There are things you can gather from the tech details, of course, that's why I share them, they're not worthless, but you can't just go, oh, this is an ASIM Pearl, so that automatically means this. If you look at this ball on paper and go, oh, this is just a Brunswick Venom Shock, that's not the case at all. This ball is medium strength plus a bit. Remember, this pattern is on the heavy side of medium, and it's handling the fresh just fine. Now, I'll probably like it best when it shines up, because it seems like it's going to be happiest with some lane shine used on light to moderate transition. It's more responsive than I'd want for what it's supposed to be. It does come at 2000 grit. It is a low RG, medium low diff symmetric solid, but like the Scorpion low flare, it's not exactly what I think of or want when I think or want tour style control ball. However, the Scorpion low flare went from really chonky out of the box to really clean and flippy when it shined up. The Alert, by contrast, held its shape and general reaction pretty well. I'll do a first shot, last shot thing at the end of the video. It did lane shine somewhat during filming, but remember, I bowl several games for each video too, usually between 3 and 5, so I give it some time to break in a little. I don't think you can really gauge a ball on like 10 shots right out of the box. Ultimately, it didn't get a lot of shine on it, and it didn't shine that fast either. I'd call it about average, but it really just got a little cleaner and sharper. It didn't go from one extreme to the other like the SLF did. This ball plays everywhere, and it does it effectively, just like the stealth mode. I think this one was even easier to play straighter with, too, though. The mode out of the box is a lot of ball. This one was just a little much at first, mostly because I wasn't expecting it to be, but when I got with the program, I could get it to succeed from anywhere with relatively little help. As you'd expect, I had to be a little nicer with it from straighter, back off on the rev rate a bit, even gave it some extra room, and I had to add some revs and slow the speed down from the deepest zone, but I never felt like I was making it or forcing it to do something it didn't want to do. It was happiest from the middle two zones, but I'm happiest from the middle two zones, so I think that's more a commentary on me than the ball. Someone with more speed would love it from straighter, and someone with hand can get it back from wherever they want to get it back from. I really wish Zach, one of my Storm staff testers, could drill one of these, because I'd really like to see him throw it. AJ Chapman would work too. The versatility of this ball might be as high as I've ever seen for anything ever. For where this one fits, I think obviously if you have high speed and a low rev rate, it may not be quite enough ball to start with at least, but I think you could actually get into it later. It'll let you stay straighter and point it, and the rounder shape makes it great at splashing the pocket too, so you're not going to have to be perfect with it through the pins. If you have slower speed and a higher rev rate, it's still fairly strong and definitely punchy, so you need oil for sure, but it's not something that's just completely out of the question. Seriously, at first glance, this might be the most centered, perfectly placed ball I've ever thrown. It's not too strong, it's not too weak, it's not too slow or too fast. It plays anywhere on the lane, it'll fit the widest group of bowlers, conditions, difficulties, and stages of transition conceivably possible. It's just surprisingly capable for what it looks like on paper, and that's what the catch is that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you look at this ball on paper and think it's going to be in IQ Tour, Venom Shock, Scorpion Low Flare territory, it's just not. It seems much more like it should be in stealth mode, real-time rockstar territory. Again, if you buy this ball expecting a Brunswick IQ Tour or a Brunswick Venom Shock, that's not what you're going to get. I want to make that as clear as I can. At $160, I'm torn though, because it feels like a fair price versus new ball prices, but you've also got the stealth mode for $140 right now. I'm going to need to get those out together and put some games on them to really flesh that relationship out, but I'm okay with it. You're going to be happy with the ball, and the price in general is solid. I've also talked in the last several videos about the collection from CoolWick benefiting the local rescue that we support and fundraise for, which is Positive Tales KC, so I'll fast track this a bit. We have jerseys and t-shirts and even tank tops with $5 per tank or t-shirt and $15 per jersey going to the rescue, so follow the link in the description to the collection if you're interested. Any support is greatly appreciated. Discount codes will not work on these items, of course, they're for charity, so we wanted to make sure the rescue gets as much as possible, but remember that Rosedoll 10 still does get you 10% off other items. This is a straight up A+ for the review. I'll eventually get around to doing some report card type stuff because review grades are kind of worthless without something to follow it up. It just seems like hype to move product otherwise. Like I said before though, plus you're watching the ball, this is just great ball reaction. I mentioned this in another video that sometimes versatility isn't all it's cracked up to be because sometimes you get catfished by a ball that seems like it can do anything you ask it to, but it just doesn't ever really excel at anything. It looks good so you don't want to put it away, but it just never seems to be that effective. Time will tell here. I've got to get some real world use on it, of course, but this is just a step down from the stealth mode across the board, and that ball has been very successful for me on several occasions doing several different things, so it's hard for me to not glaze this one like a Krispy Kreme. It just does all the right things in all the right places from everywhere, and I don't want to be a hipster or contrarian here, especially because at first glance it just seems like another boring purple tour ball. This thing is Clark Kent, Peter Parker, or Bruce Wayne. Doesn't look like a superhero on paper, but as soon as the lights turn on, it's morphin' time. I'd also call it a low 3 ball. It's a half step down from stealth mode, GB5 type of stuff, but we're not quite down to Turbo X or Crown Victory territory either. Once again, release date is October 23rd with 5 other balls. Big month here for B7. Live commentary and discussion coming up next. Members will get the full version, and as always, if you have any comments or questions, leave those down below. Kind of Olayed that one a little bit, but it did the thing. We'll have to see when it shines up because the Scorpion Low Flare was very diggy and strong and early until it shined up a little bit, and then it got kind of clean and quick. Plus it was a little more directional. This one feels like a rounder shape. The Ethos Solid core is bigger than this. This one does have HK22 with it, so it's going to be a little faster. But even though on paper you might think, okay, the Ethos is going to be the stronger ball, I think this one might actually take it. And I threw that one really bad, but there's some overlap with Ethos Solid on paper. I don't think there's much, if any, overlap on the lane. The Ethos is a lot, I don't know that it's necessarily earlier, it's just slower, definitely slower, likes much straighter angles. I think this one will be good from straight, but I think it'll do just fine from right here too. Deja vu, glitch in the matrix, grabbed it too much. So it is definitely, there is some quickness to it, for sure, even though it is kind of a rounder shape, it does pop and pick up a little bit. That's too far out, but it might hook. Yeah, I was just made sure I didn't grab that one, and of course I dumped it. better tempo. Gave a little bit more room, but just slowed my feet down a little bit so that I could not run to the line and grab it. So yeah, that's, I like where the differential's at because it gives it, again, just enough flare. It has just enough flare to where I do get some ring separation. So it's not quite, the rings aren't quite as tight as on like a Scorpion low flare, an IQ Tour or something like that. Throw another decent one from here. Grab the piss out of that. I don't know why I feel like I have to wrench on it. I don't know if I feel like it's going to be too slow or something, but it's definitely not slow. I do think it'll be better for me from straighter. So I might be feeling just a little bit of that subconscious, knowing that if I just get out of it easy, just kind of let it out there, it might be a little slow getting back, but it's not slow. So forget the slap out. I'm gonna go ahead and straighten out here. I think I've seen what I need to see here.
This video was brought to you by Panda Bear Productions. We put the in bowling.